On the calendars, it is a date printed in red, a holiday. Out from the florist shops will go millions of roses and spring blossoms. Out to a million tiny plots of land will go the living, to kneel down, pluck the weeds from someone's grave, and set a brilliant spray of flowers in the earth that hides the long sleep of our American dead. In all lands and among all peoples, there is some day of each year which is set aside for this solemn rendezvous between us, the living and the dead. The date differs, of course, as in our own southern states where another day is chosen for the memorials to those who fell in their uniforms of gray, and with other people, other days, as well as the official Memorial Day that dawns a few hours from now. The dates differ, the religions differ, but there is no difference in death. There is no difference in the spirit of wonder that comes to us as we stand at the soldier's grave and say, "We live and are free today, because for us you gave up living and freedom to die." Will you hear us tomorrow, men of America, men who sleep deep in the soil, when our hearts speak to you once again, "We live because you died"? We kneel beside the resting place of one who fell long ago, by a dry-piled stone wall in New England. Can you hear us speak, soldier of Valley Forge?
Jonathan Andrews, sir. Age 32. Home, Rhode Island. Trade, harness mending. Reporting for duty. I got my own musket here. 200 rounds of shot and a set of leather working knives. Figure on mending shoes for General Washington's army and peppering the enemy.
How did you die, Private Andrews?
Oh, same way anybody else does, I guess. Ran up to cut the saddlebags off of one of their officers. Brought him down off his horse, all right. But he took me with his saber as he fell. But it don't matter how you die, does it?
No, Private Andrews. Can you tell me, why did you die?
Well, it was one of those little tracts. Pamphlet that the elders read at the meeting house. Rights of Man. We was fighting each other up and down the colonies about the rights of man long enough. Us from Rhode Island and them from Boston. Bloodying each other's nose over it as soon as we was big enough to swing a fist. But now they said the enemy didn't believe in the rights of common men. So we picked up our muskets, gave our wives a hug, and lit out for General Washington. But, it was right, wasn't it? Meaning we didn't die in vain?
Cyrus Cobb reporting. I died in 1812. Military chaplain, sir, attached to the 20th Regulars. It was outside Washington, the morning they pushed us back. Was reading the final services to a dying man, sir, when the bullet found me. So it was my last service. Praise the Lord. I believe in man. I never doubted.
Will Drummond reporting. I died of dysentery in a field camp in Virginia, 1864. They told us it was for the Union and the freedom of man. I never understood it very well, but I believed in it. It wasn't in vain, was it?
Charles Ransom reporting. I died in 1918, Bellow Wood. There was a bridge that had to be blown up. I blew it up all right, but I was standing too close. I never doubted why I was fighting. It was to make democracy safe. It wasn't in vain, was it?
Ludwig Palmer reporting. I got mine in the Argonne Forest. A bayonet when I wasn't ready for it. Was it in vain?
Carlos Schwab reporting. I died with the International Brigade in Spain in a flaming tank. We were all proud men and good fighters. They tell me I fought a good fight until I died. Was it in vain?
Chick Anderson reporting.
I died in the foxhole in Bataan. We fought so long, we were so tired. I was almost glad when the plane came down to strafe us. Was I wrong to want to die because I was so tired? Was it in vain?
These are the voices of the dead, asking us their everlasting question on the eve of Memorial Day. All of us are afraid to die, aren't we? Yet these men, these millions of yesterday, preferred to die for us. Or was it for us, or for something we represent? This thing that has been given with their marching orders to every American soldier in every American fought war, the promise that he was representing the rights of the common man. Tomorrow we kneel by the myriad graves of our dead to answer their great cry, "Did I die in vain?" And when we come to the site of their resting place, our arms hid by the flowers they carry, shall we be able to give them the answer? And there was one other who died in action.
There was a little talk I made at a memorial ceremony shortly before my death. You've been quoting it a great deal these days. How did it go? That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain.
Which is, after all, the only clear answer ever made to why we Americans hold each year the holiday called Memorial Day.
Thank you, Terry Wilson. Now here's a new song poem written by Frank Lesser and Arthur Schwartz, inspired by John Steinbeck's book, The Moon is Down, and sung by the motion picture and Metropolitan Opera star, Risa Stevens.
People of Norway, listen. People of Holland, listen. People of France, people of Java, listen. Listen. Your nights of despair are not without number. You live without life, you sleep without slumber. But nights of despair are not without number. People of Poland, listen. People of Belgium, listen. Listen. In our eyes, now the wind that was full of our song only cries, only mournfully cries. Yet even so, there is light from the moon that is down. There is fear in the conqueror's heart. There is death in the streets of the town. That the music of freedom may start. And the song will be whispered on. From the doomed and the dead to the young. And the young will be mighty and strong. And the song once again will be sung, will be sung. of day. Now the night will be endlessly long on its way, on its ominous way. Yet even so, there is light from the moon that has fled, in the sparks where the barracks have burned, in the blood that is gleaming so red, on the knife in the back that was turned, and the song will be whispered along from the doom of the dead to the young, and the young will be mighty and strong, and the song once again will be sung, will be sung in the light, will be sung. Was life in our eyes. The moon is down. Yet even so, the moon will
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I should like you to meet the executive director of the Pacific Coast Conference of Independent Theater Owners Association, Mr. Robert Poole. His message is a simple one. Mr. Poole.
Well, I just want to say, Mr. Arnold, that I firmly believe that this huge bond-selling plan at the box office is a long step in the right direction. I know all of our exhibitors feel the same way, but we must remember that there are thousands of movie houses in America with very small seating capacities. Consequently, their patronage hardly measures up to the great metropolitan theaters that do more business in a day than they do.
Now, that's quite true, Mr. Poole, but what's your point?
Just this. When the returns of the bond sales are published in the various trade papers, it might make our little fellows feel rather insignificant by comparison.
Well, that feeling must never exist. We're all in this to do our job, be it big or small. And the final reward will be victory.
That's the way I feel, too. And if the small theater owner will only realize that his task is to press into the sale of stamps and bonds by putting his every facility at the disposal of the government, none of them need feel ashamed of the size of the net result.
That's right.
So let me say this to every independent theater owner in America. Use every bit of exploitation you can to promote the sale of these passports to freedom. Pitch day and night, and urge every patron to hop on Uncle Sam's bond wagon.
Thank you, Mr. Poole. And I'm sure they won't fail. And that winds up our Hollywood salute to the motion picture theaters of America. With sincere appreciation to the Hollywood Victory Committee. Thank you.
The Movie Theater's Victory broadcast was presented from the Don Lee K.H. Day Studios in Hollywood. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.